sharing some of the
Sure. There are definitely a lot of 3s and 5s, a lot feeling scattered, feeling foggy, number 2. Another 5, this is all new to me, have not done many meetings in this type of program. 1 with a little bit of 5, 4. Yeah, definitely lots of 5s, lots of 3s with a few mixes of others in throughout.
And it definitely makes sense to see yourself in more than one of these. So for those of you who said a mix, we can definitely empathize with that.
Yes, for sure.
Great.
Thank you. And it's interesting to see that there are some similarities across the board as well. There's definitely something in the air for that. Okay, so I'd like to take just a moment to actually formally introduce ourselves to you. We are the Arts Education team at DPI. My name is Sayward Grindley, and I am your Dance and Visual Arts Consultant. Brandon Rader, my teammate, is your Music and Theater Arts Consultant. If you don't already know us, he and I work very closely together as a team on everything. So you can always copy us both on communication. When one of us doesn't know the answer to something, the other one can most likely chime in. So be sure that you follow along and copy both of us on those emails, and we'll always get you an answer. And then I want to introduce our section chief for Social Studies and Arts Education, Dr. Lori Major Carlin.
Good morning, everyone. I won't take a lot of time. I'm just so thrilled to be here with you today. Brandon and Sayward have put together an amazing 2.5 hours. It is a tight timeline. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you especially to our partners who provided their updates in a really timely way so that we can give you, this is essentially, I've been telling everyone, this is an Arts Are for Life entire conference in 2.5 hours. So buckle up and enjoy.
And so today's agenda will include our DPI announcements, updates from the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, a mini instructional leadership PD session for you, some updates from the field, and we'll stick around for an informal lunchtime roundtable discussion with you if you choose to stay for that. Our webinar goals today are to bring you as a district arts leader or as district arts leaders together and give you up-to-date information on NCDPI policies, news, and announcements, highlight some key arts ed instructional practices for this coming year, and hear from district arts leaders about local challenges and successes. We will also be hearing from our state partners that provide arts education resources for your districts and teachers.
Great. Thank you. So today we're going to be covering the North Carolina Teacher Leadership Specialist Standards 1 and 5, demonstrating leadership. You may be less familiar with these standards than the typical NECE standards, but we wanted to bring them to your attention. These demonstrating leadership standards are for you to base your own professional development activities on the needs of those that you serve and revising your practices as necessary. The teacher leadership specialists are district or building-based professionals who help teachers become better teachers. Theirs is a support role involving direct instruction with teachers for the purposes of improving student learning and achievement. Their role involves individual work with teachers, team development and collaboration, and organizational development. Teacher leadership specialists support teachers in making instructional content engaging and meaningful to students and facilitating the integration of curriculum and relating projects across disciplines. They serve as facilitators of professional development, coaching, mentoring, and co-teaching activities. Their work includes supporting the development of authentic and structured assessment strategies to assure that students demonstrate understanding of the content taught and ability to apply the skills that they have learned. Teacher leadership specialists demonstrate the value of lifelong learning and instill a love of learning in the students with whom they come in contact. So I hope that describes you. And if you are looking for some more guidance on what your role is, if you've started new this year, these content standards are a great way to look into that. We've linked those teacher specialist standards as well as our new administrator guides, which may be helpful for your administrators in knowing what to look for in your arts program and how to best evaluate arts education teachers. And we'll just remind you that at the bottom of every screen is a bit.ly link to which you can access this slide deck. And another way that we have made the content available for your convenience is to gather all of the links into participant notes with an agenda for the day. So you can find it by clicking on the word here if you have the slide deck open, or by visiting the link that Sayward just put into the chat. And we will keep these as rolling notes, as our subsequent meetings will have their participant notes here as well. And we hope it'll make you easier to find all of the information that you need in a very timely manner. All right, so we'll roll right into our NCDPI announcements now.
In an effort to align the support our team provides and the strategic plans of agency leadership, the K-12 Standards Curriculum and Instruction Division is now known as the Division of Academic Standards, with our new name. So our work and the support that we provide has not changed. We remain committed to supporting North Carolina educators with resources and professional development that assist with standards-aligned instruction, along with assistance for legislative and grant-related programs. We are also really excited to announce Dr. Mary Hemphill-Joseph as the new Director of Academic Standards. Dr. Hemphill-Joseph comes to the division with a wealth of experience from teacher to principal, and most recently the Director of K-12 Computer Science and Technology Education at DPI. We are thrilled to have her positive, encouraging energy leading us. Oh, and we also have new colors and a new logo, in case you did not notice that already as well.
That's right.
Who exactly are we at DPI, and what do we do? So DPI stands for the Department of Public Instruction, and there are many divisions within the agency. This may not be new information to all of you, but we have a lot of new district leaders right now, so we want to make sure you're all getting the same information. We are specifically within the Division of Academic Standards, as I just mentioned. Our primary purpose is to oversee the review, revision, and support for implementation of the state content standards in the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. Specifically, Brandon and I are the Arts Ed team members within the Social Studies and Arts Education section. As we mentioned before, I'm the Dance and Visual Arts Consultant, meaning that those are my specialties. Brandon, as the Music and Theater Arts Consultant, specializes in those. From there, we split up other roles and committees that need an arts education voice. For example, the Dual Language Immersion Committee, the Arts Ed Data Project, the State SEL or Social Emotional Learning Implementation Team, the Global Education Committee, the Character Ed Team. There are many, many other groups that we split up and join. We also participate in the education committees of the North Carolina Art Museum, the North Carolina Symphony, as well as NCMEA and all of the other professional arts organizations that you'll hear from later, and other arts teacher organizations. So even though specific arts content are our specialties, we work with many others throughout the agency in various capacities to provide support across the board. We hope to look at these things through an arts ed lens, but also gather that information to filter back through an arts ed lens to give to you. Brandon and I may have specific things that we delegate to each other, but that we take on as well. Brandon loves to do anything digitally or formatting, utilizing tech. I tend to be a people person and like to communicate with people. So we tend to take things that we're both good at and share with each other. But it's always best that you copy, though, especially the one of us that specializes in the content area that you are emailing or that you're dealing with. And then we will make sure that we loop in the other person if we need to. And the best answer is to copy both of us. We are the liaison between what is happening at the state level and you. We are here to serve you and support you in the best ways that we can.
Right. So North Carolina Department of Public Instruction serves over 1.5 million students in over 2,600 public schools. And in those 2,600 public schools, we have over 7,000 teachers that teach the 4 arts areas. We know that the best way to provide quality support to those teachers is through you. So we truly appreciate you being here today. We're also happy to share the newly legislated arts high school graduation requirement. I guess it's not newly legislated, it's over a year now. But for the first time ever in the 6th grade class of 2022, so that's next year's 6th graders, will be required to experience the arts every student will be required to experience the arts. We also wanted, sorry, that's you, Sayward.
Yeah, that's okay. So we're also part of the State Education Agency Directors of Art Education group, which is called CDAE. It collaborates with art education consultants at departments of education across the nation. So that means every arts education director at each state gets together at least once a month to have meetings and find out what's going on across the nation. We work with those peers that lead in other states. And Brandon is the member at large on the executive committee as well. CDAE works very closely with other national organizations, such as the National Coalition for Core Arts Standards, which includes all of the national arts educator organizations. Knowing that you're getting the most current arts education knowledge because of our participation in this organization is important. In fact, your North Carolina Arts Ed team has been recognized for leading the field at several points over the past 18 months. Most recently, for communicating to the field about the use of ESSER funds to support arts education.
We wanted to draw attention to the fact that it is National Arts and Education Week and share with you the proclamation that Governor Cooper signed to celebrate the week here in North Carolina, which you can actually access a larger copy by clicking the image there in the slide deck. You'll hear lots more about Arts and Education Week from Nate McGachy later in the meeting.
We provide instructional support for you and your teachers in a variety of ways. Primarily, that means overseeing our content areas in the standard study. And we also work very hard to provide frequent, high quality, accessible PD specifically designed for arts educators. We support and educate you on course codes and that progression. We support you as local school districts, leaders, coordinators, and superintendents. We provide support surrounding the comprehensive arts education principles and connect you with resources to effectively implement that philosophy into your schools and districts. We also send out frequent listserv email newsletters. So if you are not signed up for those yet, we want to be sure that you do so that you don't miss any information. And please encourage your teachers to sign up for those as well on their own so that they don't miss any information.
Here you will see the current language governing what we do in arts education, and that the North Carolina general statutes do indeed say that instruction shall be offered in the area of the arts. What the instruction actually consists of is outlined in the standard course of study, which is governed by School Board of Education Policy SCOS, which is Standard Course of Study 12, just in case you are interested. And here in North Carolina, we teach within the Comprehensive Arts Education Framework. And these 3 components of the CAE, as we lovingly call it, are independent and were found by the task force back in 2012 to be completely necessary. Just for definition purposes, arts education is the instruction of an arts discipline according to the standard course of study to develop any student as an artist. Arts integration is the instruction designed to show students how non-arts content and arts content in both areas connect. Arts exposure gives students the opportunity to experience the arts as presented by professionals on the stage, in a gallery, or as a teaching artist in residence. And just as a 3-legged stool cannot stand upright without one of its legs, an arts education without one of these components is incomplete for any student. Oh, I went forward and then backwards. There we go. So here is something about which I am sure you are excited to learn more about. Starting in the fall of 22, students entering the 6th grade will need to complete at least 1 credit of arts education before graduation. And this will be automatically tracked in PowerSchool the same way that other graduation requirements are tracked. We have a team here at NCDPI working to ensure that this process will begin seamlessly and track those courses with officially recognized course codes, which are those starting with a 5 inside PowerSchool. And this means that it is imperative that you ensure that the correct course codes are being used for your classes and your students. Do not, I'm going to repeat, do not use any miscellaneous course codes which start with a 9. Ensure that all of your arts course codes begin with a 5. You can learn more about the arts education course coding structure at the course manual. I think Sayworth's going to share that here in a second, or by reaching out to us. More information regarding what those or which course codes will actually apply to the requirement will be shared a little bit later this school year. And even though this is a new process in arts education, public school units are completely prepared to deal with this because they do so every single year. Your LEA is set up to handle this change already, and as is the DPI. There are strict policies and regulations which are in place, and they guide our work to ensure that the requirements will be implemented with fidelity. So at this time, the working group is engaged in ensuring that every student's completion of the arts education graduation requirement will be tracked through PowerSchool as established by the school board policies. And this is a unique graduation requirement which actually allows courses from the 6 through 8 standard course of study to count towards graduation. So middle school teachers cannot be teaching the high school standard course of study to students in middle school. All of that will be defined very clearly later, but please know that nothing needs to change. So here's a condensed version of that timeline. Once we present our implementation proposal to the North Carolina School Board of Education this fall, we will send out a brief to the field. We will provide support for central office leadership, school-based data managers, school counselors, and arts educators to ensure that everyone understands the parameters of this new requirement. Whew. All right. So the 2021 school year arts education data is already available now in the Arts Ed Data Project. And this goes back to 2015-16, I believe. So we have lots of historic data here. And to increase the access of this public data, the project is also available not just on our website, but on the new AELC webpage that Nate will tell you about later. If you find for some reason that your data does not seem correct for your school, I need to stress the importance of those course codes. If course codes are coded as miscellaneous 9 courses, as PE courses, or something else, they will not show up in this data. If you have any questions regarding those, please do not hesitate to reach out to me because I'm happy to chat about it. All right, so Quadrant Research, who builds that arts education data project, also created a pandemic analysis dashboard for internal use. That means it's not available publicly. And we do see an overall decline in enrollment of the arts, as well as a decline in individual disciplines of visual art and a larger decline in music. But please note that there was no change in theater art or in dance enrollment across the pandemic. Now, before you check out or panic, let's look at one more set of data. You can see here that from 17-18, we actually decreased enrollment by 0.8%. And then from 18 to 19, we increased it originally, 0.8%. Then we decreased by almost 2%. And from 1920 to 2021, which is what we'll call the virtual experiment year, we lost almost another 4%. But then moving into this year, we actually see the trend is smaller than in the past by only about 0.5%. So students are not abandoning the arts. In fact, we credit you as district arts education leadership in North Carolina for stopping this downward trend and ensuring that your students have access to the arts this year. This is not a trend that is reflected across the country. Quadrant Research was actually very surprised at our low attrition rate, so we wanted to celebrate you as leaders in North Carolina for making sure that this happened. Whew, all right. Something a little different. Go for it, Sayward.
Yep. So we have changed the name of this group from Arts Coordinators to District Arts Education Leaders, or DAEL, which we call Dael, in order to more accurately reflect the makeup of the group. Knowing that some of you are coordinators, but some of you are directors, some of you are lead teachers, some of you are superintendents. There are a multitude of roles that you are coming into this with, but you are all district leaders in arts education. And so once again, that is our new name. We have been diligently working on updating our arts education leadership contacts into a master spreadsheet. We want to be sure that we have the most up-to-date information for your district's contacts. So if you want us to include someone in addition to you, please include their contact information on this spreadsheet as well, and use this list to please check your information and anyone else that you would like included with your district. We use this list to send specific district arts ed leader information out regularly. So make sure that we have that most up-to-date information there. And then also,
if you want someone not on the list, please take them off if you have the authority to do so.
Yes. So please go through and make sure that you check all of that information for your district, make sure that it is all correct there. And then also separately, another task we want you to work on for a minute is, does your district have any sort of high school concentration in the arts? If so, we would like to know about it as we are gathering information and research. Please fill this survey out and let us know a little bit more about that concentration for your district. So you would only do that if you have a high school concentration in the arts. Please take a moment to check the spreadsheet, check your information, make your updates, as well as fill out that survey if you have a concentration in the arts. And we'll give you a few minutes to work on that. If you finish both of those and you want to go back to the participant profiles and keep working on that or looking over people's profiles, we'll share that one more time in the chat as well. So you have just a few minutes to work on those things.
All right. Thank you so much for taking a moment to fill those out. If you have not finished, that is perfectly fine. Remember, again, you can access all of these links and everything at any time from the participant notes. And maybe we will drop that link here again shortly. We wanted to let you know that the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction is hosting its inaugural AIM conference at the Raleigh Convention Center, November 29th through December 1st. So that's the weekend after Thanksgiving. The conference theme is Accelerate, Invigorate, and Motivate. District and school teams will be attending the conference as a way to celebrate amazing educators across the state, as well as collaborate with local, regional, and state education leaders to explore and engage with the tools and knowledge needed to implement promising practices for the betterment of every student across North Carolina. Please stay tuned for information regarding this conference, including student performances for this conference. The application for that process will be combined with the interest form for participating at DPI for our regular December performances. And we are looking at processes through a lens of whether or not virtual performances will become necessary. So more information about that soon.
So we have some ideas for optional PD for you as district arts leaders. We listened to you in the surveys of all of our many previous sessions over the last 18 months, and many of you have specifically requested for PD for you on how to be better district arts leaders. So a couple of those options that we are providing will be a la carte quarterly roundtable unconference style meetups, and continuing to do those specific NCDPI content webinars like we've been doing, but more specific to topics that you are requesting and needing. We also are looking to do a beginner teacher toolkit group. So we're looking to maybe gather a few of you that might be interested to be an advisory group for beginning teacher support. And then another option that Brandon's going to talk more about is this mentoring cohort that we may be looking for 3 to 5 interested LEAs to kind of test it out and go through this process together and provide peer and mentor support for each other. I mentioned in one of our networking groups earlier that, you know, we have a lot of newer district arts leaders and we have a lot of you that are very experienced. And those of you that are really experienced could really share your insight and expertise with these new leaders. So Brandon's going to talk more about that in a moment. So again, our a la carte options, we would be looking at things like diving into our Arts Ed administrator guides, our Arts Ed course manual, our Arts Ed graduation requirements. So there'd be a session or a webinar on each of those. And then also some instructional leadership topics specifically for Arts Ed. So what are some lessons that we learned in the COVID era in virtual arts education instruction? How does formative assessment look and what does it look like in Arts Ed? Developing your local curriculum capacity, teaching all of the standard course of study rather than just cherry picking, and some instructional support and coaching. So again, we would be following your needs and supporting you and your district teachers and what you let us know that you are interested in.
Great. As I shared with my small group earlier during the networking session, I am a gigantic education research nerd. So for those who might be interested in the small mentoring cohort, this is an overview of what the year-long process might actually look like that we'd be engaged in. We'll start out by looking at where we came from, where we are now, and then look forward to where we want to be, all by the metric of which you choose, which means that all the members of the cohort could be working on something slightly different. We'll just use the same kind of roadmap. We will engage in a literature review and dive into best practices to meet your goals and create an action plan with a timeline and success benchmarks. The goal would be that then you'd be able to present this to your district leadership and gain their support. And we'll identify those resources you need, including ideas on how to gather funds if necessary, and we'll create an evaluation plan to make sure that you can evaluate whether or not your plan worked. And then looking into the future, we'll support those members of the cohort in implementing their plan and hopefully beginning another cohort next year in the planning process, as the first cohort is in the implementation process. So there's that. You'll get some questions in our closing survey asking you about what you might be interested in. So that's how you'll be able to reach out and give us feedback on that. So the Strong Schools Toolkit was updated at the end of August to include language that specifically gives arts education guidance to LEAs and aligns it with the CDC recommendations. That language is copied here on this slide in case you need it. And as mentioned in the agenda for the day, we'll have a breakout session later devoted to issues related to teaching arts education during the COVID pandemic. But the overall language here equalizes the performing arts with the recommendations for sports. And as noted in the second bullet on the previous slide, routine screening is recommended for all extracurricular activities, including band, singing, and dance. And though the opt-in timeline was originally September 13th, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, that was extended. And so if your district is interested in looking into routine screening, you can find more information at that link at the bottom, which is also hyperlinked by clicking this image. All right, I know that was a lot. We're going to go ahead and move into, or take a moment to listen to our state partners from the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources to provide some video updates as to what they all have been up to. Yes, James, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. I know I don't want to derail the meeting, but I do want to share with this group that if you didn't see last week, I took a beating in social media because of a PPE purchase of our school district, to which I was not the purchaser. But nonetheless, there are folks out there that are not pleased about this, and any support that we can get from the department about the science behind masking and some more bullet points, public service messaging that we can use as arts leaders, that's appreciated, because there are some ravenous parent groups out there about masking and do not understand why masks with holes should be bought, used, or anything else. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. But we could, as people out here, we could use anything we can get that talks about the effect and the connection to the Safe Schools Toolkit. Thank you.
Yeah, and I will say that every single month, the DHHS and DPI put on a joint webinar, and they are all archived. I'll make every effort to include that in the participant notes at the conclusion of the meeting. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, here we go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Burrows, Director of A+ Schools of North Carolina.
And I'm Tom Nevels, Professional Development Manager for A+ Schools. And we're here to give you some updates both on A+ Schools and on the North Carolina Arts Council. Michelle, why don't you start with some Arts Council updates?
Thanks, Tom. As you likely know, A+ Schools is a signature program of the North Carolina Arts Council, and we're part of the arts learning team here. We've been without an arts and education director since last December when Sharon Hill retired, but the good news is a new arts and education director is coming soon. Interviews have been completed, and we hope to be announcing our new hire in the next couple of weeks. We're also about to have an opening for our Arts and Organizations Director, as our former A&O Director, Carly Jones, has just become the CEO of ArtSpace in downtown Raleigh. Woo woo, Carly. You'll be able to find this opening on the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources website soon. I also want to make sure that you know about the Artist Residency Grants deadline, which is coming up quickly on October 4th. This year, Artist Residency Grants amounts range from $5,000 to $15,000, and here are just a few of the details. Artist residency grant funds may be used for artist fees, marketing, contractual fees, artist and contractor travel, and other project-related expenses. You do have to match these grants dollar for dollar unless your grant will be serving rural, low-wealth counties designated Tier 1, and those are eligible for 75 to 100% funding. Activities must take place between January 1st and June 30th, 2022. We've added a link for you to the grants page on the Arts Council website for more information. Tom, why don't you share a few updates about A+?
In July and August, A+ trained 15 of our A+ schools, including 5 new A+ schools: Pinewood and Ida Rankin Elementaries in Gaston County, Inborden Elementary and Enfield Middle STEAM Academies in Halifax County, and Gunn Junior High, an A+ pilot school in Arlington, Texas. This brings our network total to 75 A+ schools in 37 counties in North Carolina and throughout the U.S., all valuing arts and education. Recruitment for schools that are interested in A+ starts in spring of 2022. We also took aboard a cohort of 9 new apprentice fellows: Erin Badger, Sarah Council, Medina Demeter, Gina Grandy, Princess Johnson, Curtina Jones, Rue Lee Holmes, Victoria Lightfoot, and Natalie Wallace. These professionals will be undertaking a year-long paid apprenticeship to become full A+ fellows. Did you know that A+ employs over 40 practicing classroom teachers, arts and special area teachers, administrators, artists, and writers? That's who makes up our training staff of A+ fellows. To support our A+ network and partners through the continuing challenges of the pandemic, we're continuing our summer theme of restoration and reconnection throughout the academic year, with an emphasis on team building and returning to best practices. Here are some examples of how we're doing this with some of our current partners. We've collaborated with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction to produce guidance documents that crosswalk social and emotional learning competencies with the North Carolina art standards and give all teachers art-specific ideas on how to support students now and in the future. We contributed art-integrated lesson plans that pair with exemplary works of art that are printed and provided to teachers by the North Carolina Museum of Art. And we're supporting the Art Center in Carborough by staffing an upcoming literacy, SEL, and arts training for teachers in Orange County, Chapel Hill. A+ is a statewide resource for arts integration for both A+ and non-A+ schools and organizations, and we're eager to partner with you. Here's Michelle to tell you how to reach us.
Thanks again, Tom. We've provided several ways to connect with us on our final slide. Don't hesitate to connect if you think we might be able to help. That's it for us. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, I'm Jill Taylor, Manager of School and Teacher Programs at the North Carolina Museum of Art, and I'm here today to share some of our programs for educators and students. And we are located in Raleigh. We have a mix of in-person and online programs that we are offering right now. And of course, I also want to mention our resource for educators and students and families, NCMA Learn, which is learn.ncartmuseum.org. We have several great fall exhibitions planned, some that are already open and some that will be opening within the next few weeks, including NC Artist Connections, which is featuring the work of contemporary artists working in North Carolina and responding to our collection in some way, and the Alphonse Mucha Art Nouveau Visionary exhibition. So, of course, I mentioned online courses or programs for educators. So this fall, we are offering our visual literacy course, which runs from October 5th through November 30th. And that is an opportunity for educators to earn literacy credit or content area credit. And then the second semester of the year, we'll be running our art and math course in January, and an art and SEL course that we piloted this past summer will run late March through May. So those are great opportunities for teachers. Then we also have virtual workshops and webinars. So our next one is September 21st, and it's called The Memories We Carry, a virtual workshop with the Beautiful Project. So this is an artist collective out of Durham. That's part of our NC Artist Connection exhibition. We'll have a program with the curator of the Alphonse Mucha Art Nouveau Visionary exhibition on October 12th. And then on November 16th, we have a virtual workshop with an art therapist on building self-esteem. So that's for teachers to think about self-esteem for themselves and then make that connection for their students. Our in-person programming for the fall is our Teacher Tuesdays, which is free special exhibition access for educators on 2 particular Tuesdays, October 26th and November 30th. When the museum is closed to the public, teachers have special free access to these fall exhibitions that we're discussing. Then for students, I want to mention we do have museum visits that are now open for scheduling. That's kind of based on availability. And then we have virtual field trips as well. And I think you'll have access to these slides, and the links are live in there for those. A reminder that the virtual field trips are free, interactive, and live with the museum educator. They're all standards-based programs, and they can be repeated multiple times to serve multiple classes at grade level. So several topics offered that integrate art into other subject areas, math, inquiry, women artists. We have new tour topics this year, one on power and art. And then of course, we'll be having special exhibition, virtual field trips for the MUCA exhibition. And that is what I have to share. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Jason Spencer and I'm the Director of Education with the North Carolina Symphony. I'm excited to share some of the things we have planned for you, your teachers, and your students this year. The North Carolina Symphony continues to lead one of the most extensive education programs of any orchestra in the country. During the 2020-2021 school year, we engaged more than 100,000 learners across North Carolina in all 50 states and around the world through our in-person and online programs. This year, we'll continue to offer a mix of in-person and online programs. For elementary students, we'll be releasing a new virtual education concert teaching core musical concepts such as tempo, rhythm, and dynamics, all in alignment with the state curriculum. The concert will feature a range of musical cultures with selections by American composers of diverse backgrounds, including Jesse Montgomery, Anthony Kelly, Carlos Simon, Scott Joplin, Mexican composer Arturo Marquez, and more. We've already begun to resume in-person education programs, and in alignment with current health and safety guidelines, we'll continue to do so throughout the coming year. We're excited to offer an in-person teacher workshop on Saturday, October 2nd from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the North Carolina Museum of Art. I invite you to share with your music educators and encourage them to join their colleagues for a lively workshop introducing curriculum materials and activities to help prepare students for our education concert, What Makes Music Music. The workshop will be recorded and available to watch afterwards on demand. I'm also excited to share new Meet the Instrument videos that are now available. The latest videos in our Meet the Instrument series will introduce students to the viola, flute and piccolo, and oboe and English horn. Through this series, students get to know the many instruments that make up the symphony orchestra, as well as the North Carolina Symphony musicians who play them. These videos star North Carolina Symphony musicians sharing the unique qualities of their instruments and their favorite things about playing in an orchestra. You can find more information about all these resources on our website, ncsymphony.org/education. You're also welcome to contact me directly at jspencer@ncsymphony.org. Thank you all for your continued commitment to music education and supporting the amazing work that music educators are doing across our state. We look forward to seeing you and your students soon at the North Carolina Symphony.
Some other state resources are that the North Carolina Museum of Science is putting on a STEAM conference for students with disabilities. And every year, the North Carolina Museum of History has their North Carolina Pottery History in a Box. This year, they've created digital access to that. So now that is available to everyone in the state digitally. Additionally, the Arts Education Partnership is holding a national town hall for arts education supervisors, which is you, on September 30th from 3 until 4:30 p.m. You can register by clicking the link on the slide.
Great. Thank you so much to all of our state partners for sharing this wonderful information with us and with you to hopefully share with your teachers. So we're going to move on to our little mini PD session for today. Take a moment to read this cartoon here. And does this speak to anyone, specifically if you are an arts educator, and share your experiences? The one guy says, "What did you think of the professional development this morning?" The other one says, thought it was great." "Wait, really?" "Oh yeah, it gave me an opportunity to get some drawing done." Can you relate to PD as a teacher that you were given that you maybe felt that way? So this kind of gives you just a little bit of a peek behind why we started developing this training for you all. We thought that many of you have backgrounds in like one art form, but maybe not all of them, or some of you don't even have a background in the arts at all, but you've been told to be in charge of arts education. So coming up with meaningful professional development for all 4 arts areas can be a daunting task if you allow it to scare you. But we want to help you with that and help you to be able to look through things with an arts ed lens, something that might not have been meant for arts ed, but how can you look through it with that pair of glasses? And then how can you teach your teachers to do that same thing?
All right, go ahead and pull out your keyboards, find the T and the F, and let's go through these super fast, all right? Before we look at the process we went through and kind of peek behind the curtain, we'd like to set the stage and align our beliefs. So looking at the first statement, answer T or F for true or false or for the first statement. So it says, arts educators are teachers. Yep, true, good. So number 2, curriculum alignment is an area of growth curriculum alignment is an area for growth opportunities for most teachers, ensuring that their curriculum aligns with the standard course of study. Yep, mostly true. All right, awesome. Number 3, PD is more effective when it is applicable and activates participants. Lots more T's, awesome. And number 4, PD is meaningful when it's timely. So just-in-time learning, just-in-time PD. Lots more T's, okay? And the last one, PD is more meaningful when it is relevant, which is content-driven. Oh, a big yes T in all caps. Excellent, great. Yeah, research shows that all of the answers are true, and there's a citation down there at the bottom.
Yeah, so thinking of these beliefs we explored on just that last page, we know that it's important for the professional development leader to make that transfer to arts ed instead of always placing that burden on the arts educator, which can be very daunting for an arts educator to say, how do I take that doesn't feel applicable to me at all and make it apply to my classroom? And it might feel like something that they just give up on rather than being taught how to do that. Especially when presenting a new topic that may meet resistance, asking that educator to interpret the content and imagine how to apply it to their own study might be beyond what they are ready to do or have the capability to do at that moment. So to illustrate how to do that, we're going to take a topic from standard education research and apply it through an arts ed lens. So what I mentioned earlier about putting those glasses on, this is something all teachers talk about, but how do we really approach it through that arts ed perspective to try to help teachers to figure out how to do that themselves? If we simply expect teachers to be able to do this with no arts ed context and without educating them on how to make that transfer, teachers can become easily frustrated and feel that nothing applies to them. So now let's dive into the actual PD session. We'll take a look at learning opportunity loss in arts education and what it takes to write well-designed standards-based units and reflect on how this information can be used in your own arts educators' writing in your own PSUs. So as we move forward, please take a look at these norms and make sure that you're following them. If you have questions or feel that one of these is asking too much, please let us know. But we do feel like you get out of it what you put into it. So please keep an open mind, stay solution focused, and listen with positive intent. And Brandon, do you want to take this one or do you want me to keep going?
There we go. I apologize. It was going backwards. I don't know why. So this cartoon featuring 2 boys, one being named EJ, and Spot the dog first appeared in David Minton's book, Teaching Skills in Further and Adult Education. So take a moment to read it and share how this cartoon applies to the past 18 months of education in the chat. All right. In typical arts ed fashion, we are running behind, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. I think you all know how it applies. Feel free to type it into the chat anyway. So just because you've taught something, yep, excellent. Yes. Being teacher-centered, caring about what the teacher taught rather than caring about what the student learned. Exactly. Just because you taught someone something doesn't mean they learned it. However, unlike EJ here, if you purposefully plan with the end in mind and have those planned checkpoints throughout the unit, you'll be able to deliver engaging and meaningful lessons to ensure that student success. So let's confirm that we're all on the same page with our vocabulary here. What is stated curriculum? Written. And now we have the taught curriculum. And lastly, we have the assessed curriculum. So when we look at all of these terms, we think of what's mandated by the state as the written curriculum, or the stated curriculum, excuse me. And that's the standard course of study. So Chuck, you nailed it. And the taught curriculum and the assessed curriculum depend on the teacher. At least they do in the arts, right? There's no EOG or EOC course. So in your arts education experience, are there differences between these? Should they be? Should there be? Are they the same? Yeah, Dorothy, there's learned curriculum as well. Exactly. Good. Yeah, so they should be the same, but they're often not. That's exactly true. All right, so we'll go ahead and let you guys just think about these questions and frame the session. Think about who determines what standards are assessed or addressed in the arts education classroom. Is it the band director or the visual arts teacher? Is it the arts coordinator? Is it a PLC? And how are those decisions made? Do they start from a teacher-centered focus? Are they from the bottom up, or are they from the top down? And does your PSU actually ensure what is happening in the classroom is aligned to the standard course of study? So we can say we're teaching the standard course of study, but who's actually making sure that what's happening in the classroom is aligned? So we're going to take a look at backwards design together. And these are the 5 steps of backwards design, and they are out of order. So we'd like you to type into the chat using the letters A, B, C, D, K, reorder them in the correct order. They might be slightly different than you're familiar with, but that's okay. And I will give you a hint that, again, it is not A, B, C, D, K as the correct answer, but I'll let you order them and type that into the chat. All right, so we're starting to get some answers. All right, well, the correct order is back D for backwards design. And so the first one is to identify your priority standards, meaning you're unpacking those standards and identifying what is essential for everyone to learn. Then you're identifying any existing unit that addresses that standard, allowing teachers to collaborate and build on their past knowledge. Then they are creating a proficiency scale, including success criteria, designing assessment tasks that are tied to that scale, and then identifying instructional tasks that actually align to the proficiency scale, focusing instruction and maximizing student learning time. So we're going to break these down further with some examples. So we've put together a couple teacher examples, and we found that this shift in approach is really most difficult for ensemble teachers, which is why we chose those 2 types of classrooms. We're going to take on these 2 personas, kind of putting on our theater hats, and share how we can make this relevant. So Sayward is a dance teacher, middle school dance teacher who traditionally teaches in an ensemble sort of way. And I'm going to put on the hat of a high school orchestra teacher who is traditionally taught in an ensemble sort of way, running class more like rehearsals. Okay. So that first step, identifying priority standards for the grade level and subjects. Sayward, would you like to share what you are focusing on?
Yeah, so I am going to choose the standard of 7.C.1.1, which is understand dance in relationship to the geography, history, and culture of modern societies from the emergence of the first global age, 1450, to the present.
And as my orchestra teacher, I'm going to focus on the beginning standard, understanding laws regarding proper access, use, and protection of music.
So then oh, sorry, go ahead, Brandon. I was going to say, then we look at, do we already have something in our back pocket that we've done previously that we could utilize for this goal that we have in mind? And let's say for my standard that I chose, I had this unit I did quite a while back that compared and contrasted traditional ballet and kabuki dance. So I used that maybe 10 years ago. Let me see if I can pull that out.
And I know that back in my first year of teaching general music, I taught about a copyright unit, and I even have it in a paper file somewhere. So go on to step 3, and that's actually creating a proficiency scale of what students would have to do in order to show mastery of this. So if you're using multiple standards, you'll actually need to create multiple scales for success. We'll actually take a look at those here more deeply.
Yeah. So let's move forward. How would you create that success set criteria? So if you were to give it a 5-point scale of 0 through 4, I had always been told, and I loved this baking comparison because I felt like I could transform it to any other subject and make it make sense to me about dividing up these criteria. So let's use the baking example. Let's say your end goal is that the student can bake a cake. That's going to be that they check off that criteria. Well, 0 would be that the student doesn't even know where to begin, doesn't have any of the basic ingredients needed. 1 or below basic is that they have all the basic ingredients. They're just not quite sure how to put it all together. So it's there, but it just kind of sits there. They're not quite sure what to do with it. 2, the basic might be that they can bake a cake and they can put some of the ingredients together, but it might not be totally great. It might not taste great, whatever, or they might just need some help along the way in some of those areas. So maybe they need help to accomplish that goal, but they are able to do it. 3 or proficient is the student can do all of those tasks and complete the baking of the cake on their own. They got it, they checked it off. And then 4 or advanced is, maybe that student not only bakes the cake, but they go over the top, like think bakery level, just blows you out of the water. So you can take these levels and apply them to any goal that you have for your students. Break it down into what you think it would look like at each score. So this is going to be what it means that they're successful. Here's what it's going to look like if they're advanced, and here's what it's going to look like in the 2, 1, or 0 range. And then you can add other scales to it and modify that out of 100 points or A, B, C, etc. But this is a great starting point to breaking down success criteria. And then you could even look at it like growing a flower. So I've used that example as well, or a plant. So 1, it's just a seed, it's not been planted or a 0. At 1, some of that knowledge is sprouting. At 2, the knowledge is growing and blooming with some help. At 3, it's growing and thriving on its own. And at 4, it is fully rooted and developed. So for my dance unit at the 0 level, they can't name 2 forms of dance. They don't know what they are. But at that 1 level, they can name the forms. However, they have trouble finding some comparisons or characteristics of those dance forms. At the 2 level, they can name the 2 forms of dance and characteristics, and they can demonstrate some of the skills, but they may have trouble making multiple comparisons of the two. At 3, maybe they can name both of them, they can name characteristics, they can demonstrate skills, and they can make in-depth comparisons. That is achieving that goal. And then at 4, they go beyond expectations. They can do all of that, take the information to identify it in others, and use it to make their own choreography and articulate how they can compare that to the original use.
So for my copyright example in my high school orchestra class, I might try to make sure that students they need to know these 3 things. They need to know what constitutes proper access of music. They need to know what constitutes proper use of music, and they need to know what laws actually protect music and what parts they protect. So the way that they can demonstrate this is being able to consistently or inconsistently identify proper and improper access to music. So here the continuum is cannot articulate, inconsistently identifies the uses, inconsistently identifies them but is correct more often than incorrect, consistently identifies them and rarely makes a mistake, or consistently identifies them and never makes a mistake. So you can see that the approach to this can be different, whether it's more of a checklist or whether it's a consistency sort of approach. So let's go ahead and look into step 4, which is designing assessment tasks tied directly to that proficiency scale. So designing the summative assessments first, then you go to the formative assessments, and then to the checks for understanding along the way. So we've got some examples here on the next page. Sayward, I'll let you start.
Okay, so within my unit, I have the students compare and contrast ballet history and kabuki theater, both with their use of pantomime, costuming, props, and music to tell a story. And the students learn about the history of both dance forms relating to the culture and geography of both. And they do this comparing and contrasting somehow. So I've got to figure out how they're going to do that and how I'm going to check that. And they'll create a group choreography project incorporating elements of both forms of dance. So to check for understanding along the way, I'll look at, I'll ask probing questions in the beginning. What are some things that you notice about kabuki dance that remind you of things you've seen in ballet or those other connections? I'll do a Venn diagram comparing and contrasting the characteristics and elements of both dance forms and how they were used. I'll ask group members along their group project individually, what are some of the elements from each of these dance styles that you incorporated into your choreography project so that they can articulate, not only identify, but explain them to me and show them to me and why they were chosen. And then I'll also ask what characteristics of ballet or kabuki did you see in other group presentations when they watch the other groups go? Can they identify them and articulate them then? And how did they, I'll ask them how they changed or adapted them to fit their needs. So they're seeing how those groups then took it one step forward and they're able to identify and articulate that.
Sayward, I have to tell you, I actually love the way that your check for understanding and your formative assessments almost inform your instructional practice. That's different than my approach. So my approach here has different scenarios. And the way that I'd do this is I'd introduce it as like my warm-up activity at the beginning of the day. So I'd have this projected, and as they come in and get set up, this is one of the things they're thinking about. So I might have all 3 of these, or I might have just one of these questions. Thinking about Mr. Gray Strain's class playing a downloaded PDF of Holst's Planets, and the piece was written in 1916. So did Mr. Gray need to pay for the copy? Mr. Gray uploaded an MP3 of the London Philharmonic playing the planets from my classroom CD collection to my open access classroom page. Is this legal? And if I embed a YouTube video of the London Philharmonic, so the same group playing Mars at the BBC proms, and it's uploaded by the BBC, is embedding that video onto that same classroom webpage legal? So those sorts of questions where They don't have to be a whole unit or a whole 90-minute session, but they're little things that continue to keep copyright law at the forefront of the class. All right, so now we are identifying high probability instructional tasks and assignments that are tied directly to those activities. So for me, I might start off by doing an in-depth study of proper access and use that might take up a lot of my class time. But as we continue through the year, or when we're creating a program, we might examine the laws that surround what kind of information I'm allowed to print. Am I allowed to print all the lyrics to my choral piece? Or am I allowed to print an excerpt of the actual music of a Christmas song that I want my audience to sing, if that's what we're doing? When we're listening to examples of orchestras and philharmonics, what kind of copyright protects the recording versus the copyright of the written music? So lots of different building in of whenever we're using media to examine the laws that actually surround them. Sayward?
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, some of the tasks that I will decide to do with my class will be specifically assessed with those, specifically aligned with those assessments. So researching and studying the history of both and learning skills from both of those dance forms. And then using the Venn diagram to compare and contrast, even though that's an assessment, it's also going to be now an activity that we do. Brainstorming ideas for the group project, and then fulfilling each of those tasks in order to complete that final project.
Great. So I just wanted to share the article, which again is not arts education based. Here, it's the link to the ASCD website. It comes from Educational Leadership, which is a magazine published by ASCD, and it is their summer issue, which is always available for free to everyone by PDF. And even though we are arts educators, it's still important to stay connected to the broader community and see what general ed is doing as well. And we hope you found this a valuable demonstration of how you can take important general ed content and present it in a way that's meaningful for arts educators. If you want to steal our slides and present this directly, go for it. When you run PD through that arts education filter, you lower that activation energy required for teachers to make this pedagogical shift. So we have completely run out of time, but we want you to think about these next steps. How would you share the information with your arts education teachers? How would you hold them accountable for the mastery of the content? How would you provide support for arts ed teachers who need instructional coaching? And what else do you need from us? And in light of some of the questions that we received at the beginning of the school year asking, what do we do for our arts ed teachers with PD? Here's just a list of 5 ways that we came up with that are low cost, easy to access ways to tap into the knowledge within your teachers and the knowledge that you hold, whether or not you are an arts education specialist personally. So yes, we're here to help. We love backwards design and unpacking standards, serious nerds here. So we're gonna move forward. Jill, unfortunately, we have to skip our brain break and move straight into our field updates. But Jill did give us another brain break activity that you can feel free to engage with on your own time. It's in the participant notes as well. So here we go.
My name is Nate McGackey, and I am the Executive Director of Arts North Carolina. Arts North Carolina is the advocacy organization for the nonprofit arts sector, as well as the larger creative economy, and of course for arts education as well. This week, we're really excited to celebrate, educate, and advocate because it is North Carolina Arts and Education Week. Arts and Education Week is actually a national celebration that was created by an act of Congress back in 2010, but we're really excited. This is the 3rd year that Governor Cooper has named it North Carolina Arts and Education Week as well. All week we celebrate arts and education all across the state, particularly with our North Carolina Arts Education Leadership Coalition partners. We're super excited this particular year because we worked hard all summer to launch a new website, artsednc.org. Please check that out. And actually, all of the links on this slide are live, so please make sure that you're checking out for more information. artsednc.org is going to be the new home for the Arts Ed Leadership Coalition, with a lot of great information about arts education advocacy, information and resources about student participation and outcomes, as well as the new high school graduation requirement, et cetera. 10 different organizations make up the Leadership Coalition, working to advance arts education in the state of North Carolina. Also right now, because of the American Rescue Plan, there's currently $3.2 billion in the state of North Carolina for ESSER funding. That stands for elementary and secondary school emergency relief funding. And your school district, all school districts in North Carolina, have access to a chunk of these funds. And use that link and check out the Arts Education Leadership Coalition has worked together to create documents and videos to kind of give you an idea of what that funding can be used for from an arts perspective, so that you can advocate for it in your school district. It's not a grant you apply for, it is something you have to advocate for within your school system, within your district. So be sure to check that out. Also, this might be a good time for a refresher about the resources we need as we're all coming back to school. I know we're returning to arts venues, we're returning to classrooms. We have open arts resources where you're going to find the recommendations for arts education as North Carolina reopens schools. We created that as a coalition working together and launched that last year. Though this is the time to kind of pull that back out and review those safety procedures, because we know we want to be in the classroom with students and doing that safely. Also, I want to make sure everybody's thinking about starting the conversation at the school board level, and the Arts Are Education Resolutions is a great way to do that. This was an initiative that came out last year. We've had at least 3 of these be adopted in North Carolina. I think we have another one coming up in Wake County, possibly very soon. You can click that link and find out how easy it is to reach out to a superintendent and let them know that this is something you can do. It doesn't obligate them necessarily to spend money on the arts, but it does put the arts in front of your school board and allow them to take a moment to appreciate the value of that and to commit to investing and growing that in the year to come. Also, this summer we launched the Candidate Event Toolkit, and this is a great way to engage candidates, school board candidates as well. It does not have to be a forum where you're asking them a bunch of questions or like some sort of candidate debate. It can simply be an event, maybe with some student performances, and you can talk about the impact that the arts have on the students in your district, as well as have them listen to a performance and really start to understand about the work that arts education does and the role it plays in the education process within your own school district. Last of all, if you want to be informed about all of the great work that Arts North Carolina is doing, not just in arts education, but certainly for the nonprofit arts sector as well, particularly around the pandemic and how we're working through relief efforts for both education and for nonprofit arts organization, please sign up for our email list, the Arts NC email list. We send out emails maybe once or twice a week to make sure that all the information you have is up to date. So I encourage everybody to get on board with that and just to keep track of what's going on. Thank you all very much. I'm so glad to be here with you again today, and hope you have a great weekend.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Stone-Danahy, President of the North Carolina Art Education Association. I'm so glad you can be with us today. The first announcement I have to make is about our state conference. Join us October 22nd through the 24th in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We invite all art supervisors, not just art educators, to our conference. As part of our pre-conference, we're hosting a supervisor summit hosted by Penny Freeland, Visual Arts Administrator of Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, Leanne Little, Supervisor of Fine Arts K-12 in Guilford County Schools, and Cheryl Maney, Visual Arts and Dance Supervisor of Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. In this Supervisor Summit, there'll be discussions of diversity, equity, inclusion, time for networking, a focus on thinking outside of the sketchbook and literacy workshop, NC-DPI updates, and opportunities to share what's happening in your world. So we hope you will join us then. If you're not part of our Facebook page for the North Carolina Art Education Association, I encourage you to join. That's where we post many updates that are happening throughout the state and within our organization. For example, next week, we'll have what we call our teacher tune-up. As a silver lining of the pandemic, we learned that teachers just need space and time to talk, to discuss what's happening in their classroom, centered around ideas. So next week, we'll host a teacher tune-up focusing on the topic of choice pedagogy in the visual arts classroom and how teachers are managing materials during the ongoing pandemic. So see Facebook for more details on that. We also hope that you're on our mailing list for By Design. We've increased our digital output for our publication, and we're really proud of what we're able to communicate with art educators, not only across the state, but throughout the region. So we hope you'll check out our summer publication, and if you haven't seen it yet, feel free to contact me, president@ncaea.org, and I'll be happy to add you to our mailing list. Our next publication should be released October 1st, 2021. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Hi, this is Leon Piper, Executive Director of NCASA, here to review the arts activities that we'll offer this year. All our arts activities are presented by UNC Greensboro College of Visual and Performing Arts. They will provide the performance space and adjudication for all our arts activities. NCASA is a school association that's open to all North Carolina secondary schools. Schools pay an annual membership fee between $300 and $800, and they may participate in all NCASA competitions at no additional charge. St. Mary's School Art Showcase is a state visual art competition. A prompt will be presented in February, and students have 8 weeks to create their submissions. 8 submissions from 8 different students in a school may be accepted. Judges adjudicate regionals, reviewing digital images of all submissions. Top schools and individuals advance to the state finals, where the works are judged and scored by a new set of live judges. The North Carolina Scholastic Dance Festival will be February 4th and 5th in the UNC Greensboro Auditorium. Middle schools may bring up to 4 ensembles to perform in 2 styles. High schools may bring up to 10 ensembles to perform in 5 styles. Awards are presented to top individuals, ensembles, and overall schools. The North Carolina High School a cappella competition will be the evening of February 11th in UNC Greensboro Auditorium. High school a cappella groups have 12 minutes to present their best show. The North Carolina Show Choir competition will be March 18th to 19th in the UNC Greensboro Auditorium. Middle schools will perform on Friday evening, high schools all day Saturday. If you have any questions or need more information, you can email me at leon@ncscholastic.org. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Jose Rivera. I'm the president-elect for the North Carolina Choral Directors Association, American Choral Directors Association, and it is my privilege to talk to you about what's coming up for us this next month. Our state conference will be held in Raleigh, October 8th and 9th, and the theme for our conference this year is We Rise, We Sing, Our Vision Unfolding. We have great groups coming to sing. We have Exigence group by Dr. Eugene Rogers from the University of Michigan. He is bringing his ensemble, Sphinx Vocal Ensemble. We will have also the North Carolina Master Chorale, led by our own Al Surgins. We have Apex Friendship High School, conducted by Sarita Gusley. Royal Voices of Charlotte by Justin Smith, who's conducting. We also have a virtual performance by Women's Voices Choir, led by Laura Sam. And we have East Carolina University Chamber Singers, who will also be performing at our conference, led by Dr. James Franklin. We have an opening session that is celebrating the rich choral tradition of African-American brothers and sisters, led with Maestro Dewala Simpson-Burke, Dr. Eugene Rogers, and we will also have a reading session that is going to be covering the idiomatic and non-idiomatic African-American music. We also have an undergraduate conducting competition, intra-sessions, reading sessions, award presentations. We have a new award, Richard Cox Award, and it's going to be a great event to be held next month. And so we hope that the teachers from your counties will be joining us for this great celebration, because we need to get together and we need to be celebrating what we do with our students, which is the ability to sing and make a difference in their lives. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you all there.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anita Hines. I'm the representative from North Carolina chapter of the American String Teachers Association. Our upcoming events is a reading session on November 7th, 2021 at the NCMEA conference. We also have a cello and bass day scheduled for May 13th, 2022. And we have the North Carolina Orchestra Festival scheduled for October 14th and 15th in 2022. If you need more information, please check our website. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Laura Stotterman, and I am the president of the North Carolina Dance Education Organization. Our 501c3 is a state affiliate of the National Dance Education Organization, and our mission is to provide services and support to dance educators in the K-12, higher ed, and private sector across North Carolina. I'm excited to share with you several of the things our organization has been working on this year. This past year, we developed the first strategic plan for our organization with 3 key focus areas of engage, support, and celebrate. Our engagement focus aims to increase opportunities with which to attract and grow our membership, as well as develop special interest groups and provide leadership opportunities for our members. Our support focus offers professional development, scholarships for professional growth and research, and advocacy toolkits and support for dance education. Lastly, with our Celebrate goal, we aim to recognize contributions our members are making to the field through awards, social media shoutouts, and our quarterly newsletter. In connection with our engagement goal, we have recently formed the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Committee, which seeks to support North Carolina dance educators in implementing equitable instructional practices and promoting diversity and inclusion in our field. This committee consists of dance educators in K-12 and higher education from the many districts and universities across our state. NCDEO nurtures future leaders through the National Honor Society for Dance Arts. We promote the work of the junior and high school dance students in chapters of K-12 and private studios. We meet with elected student officers and chapter sponsors throughout the year to coordinate statewide events supporting the National Love Your Body Week and Dance a Difference Week, and highlight graduates from both the secondary and junior chapters at the conclusion of each academic year. NCDEO also offers a state-level award to one student who submits an application for the National Artistic Merit, Leadership, and Academic Achievement Award. As mentioned with our Celebrate goal, our quarterly newsletter is a fantastic resource as it provides our membership with updates, membership recognitions, and important news related to dance and arts education at both the state and national level. All this work is only possible with the outstanding leadership of the dance educators on our executive board. All positions are volunteer-based and include representation from the many counties and universities in our state. We hope you will connect with us. Please email me, Laura Stotterman, with any comments, inquiries, or requests, and be sure to follow us on our social media platforms.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carol Earnhardt, and I am the president of the North Carolina Music Educators Association. I'm excited today because as of September 1st, we welcomed Susan Heiserman to our organization. She will serve as our new executive director. Pat Hall is retiring, sadly, but we are so excited. Susan brings with her a wealth of information and experience with nonprofit arts organizations. Now, Pat will stay with us until after our conference in November, just on an hourly basis, and we really thank her for helping us in this transition. We are having an in-person conference at the Benton Convention Center, November 6th through the 9th. We are planning a slew of great sessions for your music teachers and hope that you will support them in attending this conference and certainly encourage them to do so. The Inclusive Vision for Music Education was an initiative started under my leadership. The idea is that we want to permeate our entire organization with the awareness and the perspectives of DEIA. Part of that in our last meeting was to give some ideas to section chairs within our organization of how they can do that. Some of the things we suggested were blind auditions for kids who are maybe auditioning for the state ensembles, bias training for the judges of those ensembles and for judges for music performance adjudications, mentorships for teachers who may have never taken an ensemble to music performance adjudications, mentorship from an experienced teacher, scholarships for teachers who would like to take their ensembles to music performance adjudications but can't afford to do so, and also a greater representation of the diversity in our music community within our journal articles and our conference clinicians and performers in our ensembles. Please read the Summer 2021 North Carolina Music Educators Journal for some information on the topics I've spoke about. Also, in a couple of weeks, we will have a fall journal that will give a rundown of many of the incredible sessions that are being offered at our in-person conference. Thank you all for everything that you do for music teachers in North Carolina. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Good morning. I'm Chuck Stowe, President of North Carolina Theater Arts Educators. On behalf of our board and our members, theater arts teachers from all across our great state, we want to thank you for your service to arts educators. We need people like you. North Carolina Theater Arts Educators seeks to advance the quality and scope of theater education in North Carolina schools through professional development, collaboration, and empowerment of theater arts educators. We host 2 conferences each year. In September, our Fall Sharing Conference is focused on teachers teaching teachers. This 2-day conference includes master classes led by theater professionals, 40 to 50 workshop sessions led by working K-12 educators, grade level PLC meetings, and more. Each February, we gather for our Winter Focus Conference, where we spend 3 days driving depth on one topic. Things like creating virtual theater in a pandemic, stage lighting, scenic painting, a variety of classic acting techniques, and even safe stage combat. In the spring, we host the North Carolina Young Playwrights Festival. This celebration of student playwriting begins with submissions of original student works from all grade levels, K through 12. Professional playwrights read each submission and give students feedback. Working collaboratively with UNC Greensboro's Theater Ed program and Triad Stage, we host a staged reading of the best, recognize all the participants and their teachers, and award cash prizes to the winning students. We offer training for educators and best practices for teaching playwriting. NCTAE is constantly involved in advocacy. We train and equip our members to become stronger advocates for themselves, their programs, the arts in their schools and their districts, and across our state and nation. We have a voice, and we're using it to make a difference for our students. Visit our website, nctae.com, for more information. Theater arts educators are busy, like everyone, but we are working together to make a positive difference for our members and our students. Find a group that will support you like NCTAE does. Stay strong, stay connected.
Best way I can phrase it, it's like a buffet, but with colleges, because you just sample everything and everyone's there, everyone's super nice, and you can audition, you interview, you train portfolio, everything's just a huge hodgepodge of amazing things.
It was really fun, but when it came to audition, it really helped me go through my process as an actor, preparing for the audition.
I got way more callbacks than I thought I was going to get. I got a good amount, and I got my face out there. I still talk to some people.
I loved my interview. I had 8 callbacks. It was just a great feeling to know that there's colleges out there who want me, and it was just overall amazing.
I went and I got called back for, I believe, 12 different schools, and Michael Tahaney, who is the head of the current school that I go to, approached my mother and told me to audition for East Carolina, ECU. I got in, and I'm currently actually a senior now.
You never really know what you can do unless you don't know your options. You don't ever know, you can't really know what you want if you don't know the full scope of what you can have. And so by going there, you'll see all these people who are genuinely interested in you.
Such a cool opportunity. I didn't even know it existed until I went to Play Festival, and I'm so glad I went.
Hello, I'm Christopher Veneris, co-chapter director of North Carolina Thespians.
And I am Medina Demeter, also co-chapter director of North Carolina Thespians.
North Carolina Thespians is the oldest honor society honoring high school theater students.
But not just high school students. We also support those middle school students out there with our Junior Thespian Society. Students can attend our Junior Thespian Festival. For our wonderful high school students, we have our state festival every year in March. They can participate in one-acts, in workshops, in
Thespies, which are formerly known as individual events. They can also audition for our all-state theater show. Yes, they can also come and visit with multiple colleges from all over the country. But wait, if you want to make it to state, you must first qualify at one of our regionals. And teachers, we haven't forgot about you. At all of our events, you can earn CEU credits.
It looks real good on that summative evaluation, too.
And we did create the FilmWorks program, which is a week-long film competition.
We're part of Arts NC.
We are.
Americans for the Arts. And
I am actually the North Carolina representative for the Advocacy Leadership Network with the Educational Theater Association. I think that about does it, doesn't it?
I think it does. I think all the ice melted in my sweet tea.
Mine too. And if you ever have any questions, just go back to our website, www.ncthespians.org, and email Medina and I at chris@ncthespians.org.
And Medina@ncthespians.org.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, you can definitely tell that Medina and Chris are fantastic actors there. So thank you so much for sticking around with us. I'm gonna jump forward here for a second to the survey. Please make sure that you fill out this survey.
I got it.
Thank you so much. My video keeps turning off. Or you can use your cell phone and snap the QR code there. And we have a new process now that is semi-automated, semi-manual. So you will not be receiving your CEU certificate automatically. I will have to take it from one place and put it into the automated system. So if you don't receive it by the close of business on Monday, then please reach out to me. But again, you will not receive it automatically, and you won't receive it at all unless you triple check that your email was typed in correctly. Thank you so much to those of you who can stay with us for our optimistic closure and our roundtables. Our informal lunchtime roundtables are going to be, let me jump over there so you can see. Help, I'm new to the arts with Sayward. You can jump into a COVID session with me talking about all things COVID. Nate and James, which if you don't know, James is all things Title IV. They're going to run a session on funding any sort of special initiatives, whether it's SEL or arts integration, things like that. Michelle Burrows from A+ and Jill Taylor from the Art Museum are going to run that. And Lori is going to field the other category. So again, we're going to jump back now to the optimistic closure for anyone who can stick with us. And for anyone else who needs to leave, we totally understand it, but your presence will be missed. So Michelle Burrows, I'm going to let you take this away.
There we go. Now you can hear me. Hey, everybody. Thanks, Brandon and Sayward, for all that great information. Since we're so far over time, I'm going to just shorten this, but this closure comes from the SEL 3 Signatures Playbook, and there's a link in the slide if you want to find it. And the focus is on self-awareness, self-management, and social awareness if you do it the way that they suggest you do it. But what I'm going to have you do is just reflect on your choice of one of these 2 questions from today. What did you appreciate about today? Or what is something that grew for you from today? A new idea, a new thought, a new point of view. And then if you would type that into the chat, your response to that question as you're thinking about it, and we can all just see